Okay, so strap yourselves in. We're going to rewrite the entire filmography of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, film by film, starting circa 2000 all the way up to 2019. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you love him. Everyone loves him. I love him. He's my dad. Why wouldn't I love him? But he's made some pretty naff choices over the years, so I've decided to take it upon myself to rewrite his entire filmography, beginning to end. Let's go! Okay, well, I'm going to start with a few choice picks here and there, don't even worry about it. So, to start off, we've got Race to Witch Mount. So the original note I had for this was existential dread. Like, it's Dwayne, he's with these kids, they're running around, going all crazy, getting up to all sorts of mischief, but then it turns out that the kids are sent by a bygone race from across the cosmos, very similar to The Day the Earth Stood Still, and they've chosen 2009 era Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to be the sole guardian and protector of the planet Earth, merely watching it as it sails absently through the universe as the human race has been destroyed, blah, 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 blah. It's basically knowing meets Day the Earth Stood Still, but it's everything else. But then I thought, there's that cheeky little word in the title. What's that? Race to Witch Mountain, you say? Alright, well, how's about this? Huh? How's about them apples? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, it turns out he's descended from a long line of witches. Do you know that sort of quote that knocks around where it's like, we're the grandchildren of the witches that they couldn't burn? Alright, well, there's a secret American Horror Story-esque cult of witches who have exclusively had girls. It's just part of the biological family tree. They've only had girls, but in a sort of Disney Channel-esque move, something went wrong something went different whenever Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was born, and he is actually a witch. Even though he's a man, in this culture, male witches don't really exist, so he's a witch. So now he's got to go to Hogwarts, but he's still Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, even though it's 2009, so he's still got the goatee, and he's still huge. So he's like fitting into these robes. It's like an elf situation where he's really big, but the desks are really small. It's a lot of fun. Alright, now this is what some may call peak Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Me personally, I feel like they're peaking too soon, am I right? So, we're going to embrace the fairy tale cinematic universe. They tried to do this a little bit with Santa Claus 2, the Mrs. Claus, way back when with Tim Allen. And then again, we got a taste of what would be a couple of years after Tooth Fairy with 2012's Rise of the Guardians. But we're talking Father Time, Easter Bunny, Mother Nature, the Sandman, Jack Frost, all fighting the monster under the bed. And then it's going to kick off an entire cinematic universe where we've got Sandman searching for his lost purpose in life, and obviously Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Tooth Fairy is going to be helping out the kids, but what's he going to do every Halloween where, you know, the biggest enemy to a dentist is candy and sweets, and how's it going to manage that? I don't bloody know. And the Easter Bunny could still be Australian. It's fine.
Where are the bloody seatbelts?
Oh, Skyscraper 2018. Alright, this is actually the one that got me. This is the one that got me started on holidays. Okay. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in this film hates skyscrapers. He can't stand the damn things. Remember how he was an amputee in the film? A skyscraper took his leg, and now his family are trapped. A skyscraper took off with his wife, and now has legal custody over his kids, and he shares it with weekends. And every Friday dinner time, he's got to go to the skyscraper and meet it, and it lets his kids go with the revolving doors, and he has to pick it up and have menial small talk with the skyscraper, like, oh, had a busy week. Oh, okay, hey, can I drop him off a little later on Monday? No, okay, that's fine. I'll work around it. That's fine. But now his family are trapped by terrorists, but for you inside, you know what, a skyscraper. So now he has to put aside his differences and his prejudice with these monoliths of modern society and navigate the inside of a skyscraper. Maybe even the one that took his wife and children. I'm not sure yet. But the skyscraper is inside. It's essentially going to be alive. So, you know, all the office chairs and all the lifts and stuff are these are just the veins and arteries of a skyscraper. So it's going to have to work together to put aside his differences to save the world. Okay, so bringing it real forward for a minute, we've got Hobbs and Shaw and Optimus Prime. Boom. Hollywood, just just post it to me in Yorkshire, alright? Because then it opens up the door to rewriting the entire Fast and Furious franchise up to the point where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson joins. It opens it up to what if all the cars were in fact Terminators? What if all the cars were in fact Transformers that they were riding around in all the time, and that Hobbs and Shaw and Optimus Prime is just the culmination, it's just the point in which the Transformers and the humans symbiote, and what if those two franchises were running parallel to each other? Oh, here's just a few blue sky ideas I've thrown out there. San Andreas 2, the San Andreasing. He's rumoured for the Big Trouble in Little China remake, so I'm suggesting we've got Big Man in Big Trouble in Little China. Thank you. And then Jumanji 2, Van Pelt's Last Hunt. In case you didn't know, Van Pelt is the I've got a whole thing about Jumanji, I don't want to talk about it, but Van Pelt is the original hunter from the original film, so he's actually going to travel through time and space from the reality in which the original Jumanji with Robin Williams was the only Jumanji ever, and he's actually come through, he's ripped apart the fabric of space-time to our reality, where there was a shitty remake in 2017 with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he's going to hunt down all the... It's very meta. This is basically the Friday the 13th Freddy's Revenge, where Freddy Krueger is real. He comes out of the films to hunt down Wes Craven and co. to try and kill them off for making a bad film. That's Van Pelt's Last Hunt. Alright, honourable mentions. He had a cameo in Hannah Montana. He had a love affair with Billy Ray. Boom. A G.I. Joe Retaliation. Alright, we're going for a small soldier's, he's like a little man. He's like a little action figure. He's a G.I. Joe figure in this universe. The action figures were made of the soldiers as part of this group. But it's also a Night at the Museum-esque piece where we're bringing Bruce Willis back. He's going to be the original G.I. Joe, and he's got to work with these small soldiers to fight a global threat that the soldiers cannot fight for themselves. And okay, now the studios will start listening. They've got our boy, and we need to get him out. Okay, so a bit of context. There's a theme park in Florida called Universal Studios Florida. Okay, you know Universal Studios, right? Right, good. Okay, so they had this ride called Disaster, the Ride. It was a major motion picture starring you, and the idea was, it was this weird hodgepodge of a motion simulator in 3 parts, where essentially you were going to be extras on a fake Hollywood film. But they wanted to pull out all the stops and really chew the scenery on the fact that this Hollywood film, it was meant to be a commentary on Hollywood's obsession with disaster movies. So the film that you're actually making stars, you guessed it, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And he says some line at the end. I can't really remember it. So Dwayne cameoed in this film, right? Lots of stars do. Like you had a holographic version of Christopher Walken playing on a loop every 12 minutes. It was great. Except think about it for a minute. All the other stars made films with respective studios, all except Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Who made all of his films? Who was the main financier of all of his films? Boom, you guessed it. Then they trashed the ride. Alright, so they threw originality down the toilet, didn't they? For the sake of this cash grab, this carbon copy of the one that you can ride at the Universal Studios Hollywood Tram Tour, except this one's a permanent fixture. They got greedy. They just like the dwarves, they dug too deep, and they got our boy. He's the linchpin. At some point during 2017, they kidnapped Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They trained him like a circus monkey to perform on a continuous loop, and then stuck him inside that ride. But Joe, I hear you say, it's a motion simulator. How can this be? Yeah, all the other characters are just on screen. All the other cast, they came in, they filmed their stuff for the ride, and they left. And reportedly, on the day of filming, when they did that, they all kept asking, oh, where's Dwayne? But Universal just told them, don't even worry about it. He'll be there. Don't even worry about it, they said. He has to do death-defying stunts on a loop every 12 minutes for the pure pleasure and satisfaction of tourists from across the globe at Universal Studios Florida Orlando theme park.
You mean like at Universal Studios?
So the ride opens, and Dwayne is trapped, is blackmailed even, for reasons known only to Universal and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he's been there ever since. Just down the road in the San Francisco area, there was a Jaws ride. It used animatronic sharks, real fire, skippers. It was great. They closed it. But rumour has it he used to sneak out every night to just sit with the robot sharks and keep them company on those cold Florida evenings. They couldn't speak and they couldn't move, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he would calm them and tell them how much happiness and joy they bring to people. Two relics of a past time in theme park history. There was also a Back to the Future ride, one of my personal favourites. I only rode it once, don't even worry about it. And in this ride, you rode remote-controlled DeLoreans through time. It was great, they closed it. But anonymous sources tell us that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson actually taught himself how to operate the ride, purely so he could ride it on repeat overnight. He wasn't even that big of a fan of the franchise. He thought they were okay, passable Hollywood blockbusters. But he knew that when Universal Studios looked at their ride stats, they would see that the ride had been ridden 100 times more than Extra Day, as many rides as it could squeeze in, and hopefully they think, wow, the ride's really popular, we best not close it. But it didn't happen, and they closed it anyway. Rumour has it the bottom left car was his favourite. Also, full disclosure, I understand that's not how rides work, but don't even worry about it. So here's a map, and as you can see, we've got San Francisco area up top. That is where Fast and Furious Supercharged currently lives, and then down towards the left, just near the entrance, that area is called Production Central, and there was a ride there called The Fantastic World of Hanna-Barbera. Opening day attraction. You go on a wild goose chase to save Bobo from Dastardly and Muttley. You had your Flintstones, your Scooby-Doos. It was great. They closed it. But okay, this was before Dwayne's time, he couldn't do anything about it. Then they reopened it with a pure reskin, I just did it in a weekend, for Jimmy Neutron's Nicktoon Blast, a far superior version of the ride, which many of you would have probably known. You go on a wild goose chase to save Angelica from the Gazorpians from Jimmy Neutron. You got your SpongeBob there, your Rugrats. It was great. It was absolutely great. They closed it, and Dwayne never ventured out of the San Francisco area for fear of being caught by the corporate bigwigs. But one night, he made the pilgrimage down to Production Central and convinced a custodial team lender to ride the simulator with him, simply in protest of it becoming Minion Mayhem. He tried his best, okay? Anyone who met him that night just thought he was a very charming 7-foot-tall lookalike from one of the events. Maybe from a horror night, I don't know. If you ask me, Minion Mayhem was a bit of a horror ride in itself. Am I right? Here's what really perplexes me about the Great Dwayne Conspiracy. Next door to the Fast and Furious Supercharged is a mummy ride. Themed to the 2017 Tom Cruise epic, I hear you ask? Hell no. Themed to the 1998 Brendan Fraser classic, son. Dwayne played the Scorpion King in the sequel, and a 2002 era Brendan Fraser still appears in the ride. Alright, Dwayne's got connections to the franchise. His arch nemesis, all these years on, still mocks him constantly from the ride videos. And there are those who say that when it's time for Universal to close the Mummy ride, Dwayne will finally face his foe. So here we have it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, shepherd of the defunct Universal Studios Orlando, Florida rides. Sadly, his efforts have been mostly in vain, but he's trying his best, alright? But then I hear you say, well, Joe, okay, it all checks out, and you got your research and your references and blah-de-blah, and maybe you should be doing something better with your time, like studying for your masters that you paid for, or, having a successful career in YouTubing or whatever. What about the elephant in the room? Or should I say, the Maui?
You're staring at a demigod.
Yes, it is true. Universal Studios Orlando, Florida and Disney World, Florida have had a years-long bitter rivalry. So in the midst of all this, in the midst of Fast and Furious Supercharged opening in 2017 and then Moana hitting theaters in 2017, where's our boy? How's he got caught up in all this corporate meddling and handy-dandy? Like, what's going on? Why are they doing this to him? Well, the only reason we have Moana, ladies and gentlemen, is because one time Dwayne escaped. Who knows? what led him to it. Maybe he'd had one too many of those giant turkey legs. Maybe he was sick of listening to the fanfare over and over and over. May 2016, he made a run for it. Now, this is quite difficult for a towering inferno of a 7-foot attractive Hollywood film star to do, but he managed it. Who knows? Maybe he disguised himself as one of the walk-around characters. Maybe he slipped through the Terminator ride, that used to be a thing, and painted himself silver so he could come off as one of the robots. Anyway, he nearly made it. He got out to City Walk. He smelled the fresh, unpasteurized air for the first time. He forgot what the sun looked like, which, you know, is pretty hard to do in Florida, but there you go. He started to make his way to the car park. He can still remember he was parked in the Grinch parking lot. He wanted to go for Jurassic parking, but it was full. But it's always full. But it's fine. It's literally fine. He gets to his Hummer. He's still got his car keys. He gets them out. But someone was waiting for him in that parking lot on that cold May evening in 2016. It was the mouse. They were waiting for their opportunity. They knew our boy. They knew he was going to try and escape, so they kidnapped him. And what did they do? Try and force him onto the Pirates of the Caribbean ride? They did that with Johnny Depp when the new Pirates film came out, which we all saw, right? No. They wanted him to sing and dance. Could you get more insulting? They forced him into a recording studio for 3 days. Must have had some sort of, one can only imagine, had a truce with Universal Studios, who then had to put Fast and Furious Supercharged on temporary maintenance duty. It was just a horrific knock-on effect. While they're there, whipping him into shape, forcing him to spout out lines about Moana and this and that, and just wanted and it's strange. Anyway, so then they're done with him because, you know, recording animated films, it doesn't take that long. 3 days tops. Let's say it was a Labor Day weekend, whatever that is, and they release him. They release him across the Animation Central forecourt, but who's there to greet him? The Universal Studios suits. It was this icy tension in the air. You know, Disney executives looking at Universal executives. They're eyeing each other up. They don't like the deal, but they want our boy. Just when he thought he had his moment of freedom, Universal dragged him back in. Rumour has it that he turned to the Disney executives, the people who tortured him, like Jesse in Breaking Bad, and yet all he had to say to him was, "Daddy's got to go to work." And so Universal took him back in, and he's there on the Fast and Furious Supercharged ride every day. But why? Why are they doing this to him? Give us back our boy! Give him to me!